Hello everyone, welcome to our video presentation. My name is Rizky Winda Francisca and my friend Mirza Isdihar. We are from Group 10. We will explain about audit expansion and internal audit finding. First, I will tell you about expansion of testing. Expansion of audit testing is obtaining additional information so that the auditor assigned to audit the auditee have greater confidence in making conclusions on the result of the audit. The extent to which tests of control are affected by the control risk specified in the plan. The lower the risk of control, then it will be more extensive testing of control to be done. The more extensive the testing of control is carried out, the more evidence is accumulated regarding the effectiveness of various control policies and procedures. The extent to which tests of control are directly affected by the level of control risk that has been determined in the planning by the auditor. There are four factors influencing the level of confidence in the evidence obtained from testing control. Number one is type of evidence. Type of evidence for testing control include inquiries, review of document and report, of observation and reperformance of control or computer-assisted audit technique. Number two, sort of evidence. Sort of evidence for test of control relate to how the auditor obtains evidence either directly, such as through observation, providing greater confidence than evidence obtained indirectly, or by drawing conclusion. Number three, timeliness. The timeliness of evidence for tests of control related to when the evidence is obtained and the part of the audit period to which the evidence is applied, such as observation regarding the point in time to which the evidence is applied. Number four, existence of other evidence. The auditor should consider the presence of other evidence from tests of control and the effect of a combination of evidence relating to the same assertion in evaluating the level of confidence provided by tests of control. There are 6 types of audit testing. There are 5 types of audit procedure related to the auditor's understanding of internal control. Updating and evaluating the auditor previous experience with auditors, conducting interviews with audit employees, read system manual and audit policies, checking document and record, observing the activities and operation of the auditee, and the last is testing control. Number 2 is testing of internal control. Control tests are carried out to determine the feasibility of the design and the operation effectiveness of specific internal control. This internal control by means of manual or automated. Testing of control include the following audit procedure. Conduct interviews with direct employees, review document, record and report, observing control activities, and carry out the auditing procedure again. Number 3 is substantive testing. Substantive tests are audit procedures designed to test for error in rupiah values that directly affect the accuracy of balances in the financial statement. Misstatement or monetary misstatement, as it is a clear indication of misstatement of the account. There are 3 types of substantive tests. Number 1, substantive testing of transaction. Next, analytical procedure. And the last is detailed testing of balances. Number 4 is substantive testing of transaction. The purpose of substantive testing of transaction is to determine whether all audit objectives related to transaction have been fulfilled for each class of transaction. For example, the auditor performs substantive tests on transaction to test whether record transaction actually exist and existing transactions have been recorded. The auditor also performs this test to determine whether spending transactions have been recorded correctly. Spending transactions were recorded in the reporting period appropriately, shopping has been correctly classified in the balance sheet, and whether the shopping has been summarized and posted correctly to the ledger. If the auditor believes that transactions have been recorded and posted correctly, the auditor can be confident that the ledger amounts are also correct. Number 5 is analytical procedure. Analytical procedure include comparison of amount recorded with expected amount prepared by the auditor. Usually, analytical procedure also include the calculation of the ratios by the auditor to compare with previous year ratios and other related data. The main objective of the analytical procedure performed at the stage of conducting an audit of account balance indicate the possibility of misstatement in financial statement, reduce detailed testing of balance, understand the client's line of business, and determine the viability of a business unit. Number 6 is detailed testing of balances. A detailed examination of balances focuses on the ending balance of the general ledger for the income and expenditure realization report and the balance sheet. Example of detailed testing of balance include confirmation of account receivable balance, physical check of inventories, and examination of debt contract with other parties. Detailed testing of this balance is important because evidence is usually obtained from independent sources and is therefore reliable. Much like testing transaction, tests of detail of balance must be performed fulfilling all audit objectives relating to the balance for each of the significant account. Testing of account balance is also very important because evidence is usually obtained from independent sources with a higher level of confidence. What is the relationship between control testing and substantive testing? To understand control testing and substantive testing better, let's examine the difference between the two. An exception in testing control identifies only the likelihood that a misstatement affects the rupiah value of the financial statement, whereas an exception in a substantive test of a transaction or a detailed test of balances is a misstatement in the financial statement. An exception to the test for control is called the control test deviation. Next, I will tell you about the relationship between analytical procedure and substantive testing. As with test of control, analytical procedure only indicate the possibility of misstatement affecting the rupiah value of the financial statement. Unusual fluctuation in the relationship between one account and another, or with non-financial information, may indicate an increase in the likelihood of misstatement without the need to prove direct evidence of the material. When this analytical procedure identifies unusual fluctuation, the auditor shall perform a substantive test of the transaction or a detailed test of the balance to determine whether rupiah misstatement has actually occurred. If the auditor performs substantive analytical procedure and believes that the probability of misstatement is small, other substantive tests may be reduced. For accounts with small balances, such as equipment account and prepaid expense account, auditor often limit their testing to analytical procedure. There are 3 steps for expanding audit testing. Number 1, make a more detailed test. In studying the evidence in the preliminary survey and in the audit review phase, The auditor needs to perform more detailed tests in auditing audit evidence. Number two, increase the amount of the test material. The auditor can add to the audit evidence to be more than what was previously planned or that has been obtained. This is done because the audit evidence that has been obtained is still considered insufficient and precise to provide the right conclusion. Number three is expanding the scope of the test that has been carried out. This expansion is carried out with the scope beyond the specific testing that has been done previously. This expansion is done on the evidence test in stage 3 and 4 in the audit process.
Expansion of objective expansion of testing. Expansion of testing is carried out with three objectives. Number one, to display a more detailed review of the test results on audit. Number two, test compliance with the control that have been built or performance objective. And number three, assist in evaluating the control system of or quality of the audit's performance. The relationship between control testing and substantive testing. An exception in testing control identifies only the likelihood that a misstatement affects the rupiah's value of the financial statement, whereas an exception in a substantive test of a transaction or a detailed test of balance is a misstatement in the financial statement. An exception to the test for control is called the control test deviation. Audit program development for testing expansion. There are 5 steps in developing the programs. Number 1. Determine the result of preliminary surveys and reviews on internal control. Number 2. Determine what, if any, risk indicators from the audit result. Number 3. Determine what types of internal control are best for dealing with existing risk. Number 4. Determine what, if any, additional audit evidence is needed to determine the effectiveness. Testing expansion criteria. The terms of the test expansion is: first one is direct, efficient, and feasible or workable. Audit finding. In simple terms, what is meant by audit finding are significant or material problems that were discovered during the audit, and these problems deserve to be raised and communicated with the audited entity because they have an impact on the improvement of performance, economy, efficiency, and effectiveness. How to disclose audit findings. Disclosure of audit finding is often met in an inaccurate assumption that every audit must require negative findings. Including negative or positive findings in the report makes the report more balanced and objective, which tends to increase auditor professionalism. Communication of audit findings. Audit findings are facts that are complete based on data from the auditor's point of view. Before being formally used as material for an audit report, data or figures need to be updated and validated. Characteristic of a good audit finding. There are 3 characteristics of a good audit finding. Number 1, audit finding must be supported by adequate evidence. Number 2, the audit finding must be important. Number 3, the audit finding must be contain elements of finding, condition, criteria, and cause and effect. General risk of audit finding. There are 5 general risks associated with audit finding. Number 1, the reliability and integrity of the information obtained is considered low. Number 2, there is no adequate compliance with various policies, plans, procedures, laws, and regulations. Number 3, operation found to be neither economical nor efficient. Number 4, organizational assets are deemed inadequate in terms of protection. Number 5, audit is considered dangerous for the achievement of the goals and objectives of the organization. Audit findings component. There are 5 components in the audit findings. Number 1 is condition. Number 2, criteria or estimates. Number 3, effect. Number 4, causes. Number 5, recommendation. Reporting audit findings. Several audit organizations prepare an executive summary on the internal audit report. Executive summary is usually made on one page. Describe the scope of the audit. Present the overall audit opinion, and presenting the auditor's assessment of the object or operation being audited. Audit reporting cycle. The internal audit function may change or go through any of steps described below according to your needs and objectives. A. Outline of audit finding. B. Preparation of the first draft. C. Discussion with client. D. Preparation of a draft final audit report. E. Closing of the conference. F. Issuance of final report. Follow-up on audit finding. Factors that must be considered in determining the appropriate follow-up procedure are the significance of reported observation or observation, the level of effort and cost required to improve the reported condition, the risk that may occur if corrective action fails, complexity of corrective action. Thank you.